What is up, DC fans, and welcome back to my channel. If you guys have not been following along over the last few months, I started out doing episode reviews and reactions to Titans, and then I moved into Young Justice Season 3. Both of those were really exciting, but now we have a brand new show on the DC Universe streaming platform, and that's Doom Patrol. This is a show that they've been pitching for quite a while. They set it up slightly in Titans Season 1, and now we are full on into this series. We have episode 1, and every single week for the next, I believe, 12 weeks, there will be an episode dropping, so I can't wait to review every single episode, but we start with episode 1, and that's what we're doing today. This is your space to talk Doom Patrol, and I will get into mild spoilers in this episode, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, if you don't care, stick around, but if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to come back after you've watched it. Now, I'm not going to go crazy plot heavy in this video. I'm just going to tell you guys what did I think of episode 1, how did it get us warmed up for what is to come later on in the season. We will dive into all of that. Now, let's start talking about Doom Patrol, episode 1. So the reluctant heroes of the Doom Patrol, Robot Man, Negative Man, Elasti-Woman, and Crazy Jane face the threat of Mr. Nobody, who's after the Chief. And I was very nervous going into the season because not a lot of people know what the Doom Patrol is. Unless you are deep in the comic books or you just know DC lore, then you know what Doom Patrol is. But the standard audience, people that maybe are trying the DC Universe app out or just got it for Titans or Young Justice, they're going to be like, okay, what is the Doom Patrol? Who are these people? Oh my goodness, Brendan Fraser is in this show. Matt Bomer is in this show. The cast is what I think is going to draw a lot of people into this series. And if you have the DC app, you're probably going to watch it. But that's where I want to start with this review, is the cast. I believe the cast is what is going to make this show really, really intriguing and engaging. And we start out with, like I said, Brendan Fraser, who this episode, episode 1, really kind of focuses on how Robot Man comes to be, what his backstory is. And I really like how the episode does something that not many superhero TV shows do. They give you a backstory for a character, and we don't just get Robot Man's backstory. We get a backstory for pretty much each member of this superhero team, except for one in particular, and we will get into that. But they give you a backstory, but as the episode progresses, they dive back into that backstory, and maybe they weren't telling you the truth, or maybe there's more to it than that. You start to figure things out about each individual character, things that you thought were true at first, and then you realize it was all a lie, and they do that, and they continue to do that, and it does not wear out its welcome. I think it is something that is going to make this season, and this show in particular, very distinct from other superhero shows, because I really like the storytelling in Doom Patrol, and I will go ahead and tell you, let's get into it. I believe this pilot is a stronger pilot than Titans. Now, I like Titans. I like many things about Titans. I also had some issues, and I hope they resolve those issues in Season 2. But with Doom Patrol, while I still have some minor problems, I think this pilot does a good job, a better job, of setting the tone for what this series is going to be and allowing us to get invested into each one of these characters, and I really enjoyed that. And because of the way that they went about the storytelling and the way that they in particular directed this episode, which I really liked, I believe Doom Patrol is going to have a very bright future, or a dark future. It's according to what path it goes, but I think this has a solid future ahead of it. I enjoyed this pilot quite a bit. I really got invested in these characters, and I did not think I was going to, because even though the cast is great, and even though DC has done a good job so far with their television shows on this streaming app, I was just hesitant. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you. I just thought this show could go in a bad direction, but it didn't. I found it fun. I was entertained throughout the entire episode. Alan Tudyk, we start out with him as our villain, and perfect casting. You could not get better than having this man front and center as the villain and as the man who is telling this story, and I really loved how he started out with that, and we get kind of an origin story for our villain. This is an episode all about origin stories. It's telling us where these characters come from. We're flashing back to the 1960s and then the 1980s, and each character, as they start to meet up and start to come together, you see how the Doom Patrol was really formed. And while some of those questions were answered, we still have questions going into episode 2, and I like that. I like the intrigue. I like the mystery. I like having something to wait on 7 days from now. Being someone who doesn't watch television as much as I used to, I'm all about the streaming platforms now, whether it's Hulu or Netflix or Amazon. And while Hulu does this, the DC streaming platform releases 1 episode a week, or like Young Justice, 3 episodes a week. And you have to wait on what is to come next. And I believe Netflix has just spoiled us with giving us entire seasons so we can binge through and not have to sit in anticipation, and I miss that about television, and I really like a show like this, something that always leaves you on a slight cliffhanger and you have to wait for it. It leaves you in anticipation, and I think Doom Patrol did that with the first episode. Whether or not this show goes in a solid direction or keeps up the quality of the content, I don't know if that's going to be the case, but if we're looking at just episode 1, I liked it. I like the mystery, I like the intrigue, and I really, really like Robot Man. Brendan Fraser, we haven't seen him in a while. It's been a bit since he's been in a film or a television show, at least one that I've watched, but he's really good in this show. He looks a bit different than he used to look, but his acting here is on point. You feel the emotion in his character, what happens to him, and becoming this unnatural robotic being, having to remember things in his past, being told things that maybe aren't necessarily true, and having these false memories. It's very emotional, especially when you see what is happening with his wife and his daughter. When you learn the true story there, you really feel for his character, and I think that's because of how good of a job he did and how good of a job Timothy Dalton did as Chief. He's the man who is bringing these people together, and I don't know whether or not I can trust him yet. I know from Titans that I can't trust him in a way, but still, he's trying to do something that is right here, and I love the mystery with his character. Another character that you learned about, you got a bit from his past, and then once again, they change up that backstory halfway through the episode, is Negative Man, starring Matt Bomer, who I thought, once again, was really good. I love his voice, I love his presence, I like the flashback scenes, and I love how they tie in together with the present and how this team is forming. April Bowlby plays Elastigirl. I like her backstory, and I love what happens in the town when she starts turning into this giant creature, this monster, and everyone's running and screaming and freaking out. And this is a lovable actress from, I believe, the 1960s was the date. I might have that wrong. But it's so crazy how her character goes from one extreme to the other just like that. It's those powers that she has to face. This series kind of reminds me of the X-Men, people having to deal with their powers, realize that it's affecting them in ways that maybe they can't imagine, and I really enjoyed that. Then we get Crazy Jane coming in at the end. We don't learn that much about her character. We know she has all of these personalities. It reminded me, of course, and everyone's going to say this, of Split, but she is from the comic book, so technically she came first. But I thought she did a solid job from what I saw. We didn't get to see a lot, but we will learn more in future episodes. And speaking of future episodes, we have not seen Cyborg yet. I mean, I saw him in the trailer, haven't seen him in the show yet. He will be coming down the line probably the next episode if I had to guess, but I have not looked at the premise. Overall, guys, I like this show. There were some things in there that slightly bothered me, like how does this character not know this character even though they've been there for this long? There were some questions that I have. I need to go back and analyze it a bit further because I do believe there were one or two plot holes in this episode. Plot holes that tell me that maybe they didn't pay as much attention to the plot as they should have. And maybe they explain this. Maybe I missed it. Let me know in the comments down below. But how does Robot Man not know Crazy Jane if they've both been in and out of that house? It's just things like that. I was kind of confused, and it could have been one or two lines that I missed. I was also making breakfast while I was watching the show, so maybe I wasn't paying as much attention as I should have, but I still tried to focus as much as I could and got a lot out of it, guys. This is a solid start for this series. 13 episodes total in season 1, so you guys can come back next week and we will talk about episode 2. Thank you so much for watching this video. All I wanted to do was tell you whether or not I recommend you watching episode 1 of Doom Patrol, and I definitely recommend it. If you have this app, do it. If you want to get this app, you have Titans, Young Justice, Doom Patrol. Later on, we'll have Swamp Thing, the new Harley Quinn show. There are so many things coming out in this DC online universe, and I do recommend it because DC is full of, clearly I'm a big DC fan, but they are full of so many wonderful heroes and stories and godlike beings, but also very human and personal stories, and we saw that in this episode, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Tune in next Friday for my episode 2 review of Doom Patrol. I can't wait to come back and see what happens next. Get in the comments section. Like I said, this is your place to discuss the show, its characters, where you think it's going, and if you are looking forward to the rest of the season. Thank you so much for watching this video. I have another superhero show that I'm watching right now, and that is the Umbrella Academy. I'm watching all 10 episodes, and later on tonight, I will have a full Season 1 review for you coming out on Netflix, so be sure to check that out. If you have Netflix, you guys are the absolute best, and I'll catch you very soon.
You are listening to PopX Cast, where science fiction meets pop culture.
Captain's log supplemental.
PopX Cast.
Hasta la vista, baby.